Hi guys, and welcome to today's video on the chemical equilibrium constant. In the previous video we looked at Le Chatelier's principle and how equilibrium shifts. Now we're going to quantify equilibrium using the equilibrium constant Kc. Okay, so what is this Kc value? So Kc is the ratio of your products to your reactants at equilibrium. So let's say I have this equation over here and I want to calculate the Kc. So your Kc is the concentration of your products over the concentration of your reactants with powers from the coefficients over here. So if I were to calculate the Kc value for this equation, it would be the product, which would be the concentration of C to the power of its coefficient, which is C, times the concentration of product D with the power of its coefficient. And the same for my reactants. So you always look at the coefficient of your reactant or your product, and then it becomes the power to the concentration over there. So this is how you calculate it. And very, very important, this is only for your solids, your gases and your aqueous substances. You ignore your solids and your liquids in your Kc calculations. And remember, since we have a reaction that goes forward and backwards, if I wanted to so this is the Kc for the forward reaction, so the Kc for the reverse reaction would then be exactly the opposite. So in other words, your Kc for the reverse reaction would always be the inverse of the Kc of your forward reaction. So let's interpret this Kc value. So if I have a Kc value that's larger than 1, it means that this value at the top is larger than the value at the bottom. So in other words, the concentration of my products is larger than the concentration of my reactants, which means that my equilibrium lies to the right. So in other words, my products are favored, so it's the forward reaction that is favored in this case. But if I have a Kc that is smaller than 1, it means that the products are less than the reactants. This value over here is smaller than the value over here, which means that my equilibrium lies to the left here, which means my reactants are favored, which means my reverse reaction is favored. So if I have these concentrations, remember this is at equilibrium. Very, very, very important. This is at equilibrium. So if I already have the concentrations of all my gases and aqueous solutions at equilibrium, it's a very simple calculation to do. But the problem now is that I won't always have the concentrations at equilibrium. I might have the starting grams or starting moles or whatever of my reaction. And how do I then calculate the concentrations at equilibrium to calculate my Kc value? And here it's very important that we actually realize that this links back to our stoichiometry, stoichiometric calculations that we already calculated. The difference here is your reactions don't go to completion. So in normal stoichiometry, remember, all your reactants are used up. Your reaction goes to completion. But now with equilibrium, the reaction stops before completion. Or remember, it doesn't stop, it just keeps going backward and forward at the same pace. So it looks like it stopped. So some reactants will remain and some products will form. So there would still be some of this and there would also be some of this, even though when the reaction reaches equilibrium. And that's why we need a new approach to calculations. So if you remember correctly from what we did in the previous videos, when we think back on equilibrium, remember forward, like I said, the forward and reverse reactions are happening, but the rates are equal. So the concentrations stay constant. So we calculate what is present at equilibrium. And for that, we use our equilibrium constant table. So let's go and have a look at that. Okay, so let's look at this example over here. Let me get my highlighter. So it says that 3 moles of NO2 are placed in a 1.5 cubic decimeter container, and the following equilibrium is established. So then they give you the reaction over there, and at equilibrium it's found that 0.3 moles of NO2 were present in the container. Calculate the value of the equilibrium constant for this reaction. So I always say start with the equation that allows you to calculate what they asked you to calculate. And they asked you to calculate the equilibrium constant. So we start with that equation. And then you let the unknowns lead you into what to do next. So now we see that we need a couple of our concentrations at equilibrium. And for that, I use the equilibrium constant table. Because remember that in my stoichiometric calculations, I always calculated the moles of the product or the reactant that they gave you the most information on, and then you calculate the moles of the product or reactant that they asked you about, and you do that using your ratios, like the ratio of this to that or whatever they ask you, and then you change your moles into the value, the specific quantity that they asked you. So whether they asked you for concentration or the mass or the volume of or whatever. So it was always those 3 steps that I needed to do my stoichiometric calculations. But now, since my reaction isn't going to completion, I'm doing the same type of thing with this table over here, but I need it at equilibrium. So how it works is I have my initial moles over here, and then the reaction, what reacted with what. There I use my ratio. So you can always remember reaction, R is also for ratios. So there I use my stoichiometric ratios to see, okay, so if this many moles of that reacted, it would form this many moles of that one. So that's where I use my ratios that I used in step 1 and 2 in my normal stoichiometric calculations. And then if I know how much I started with and I know how much I used or how much formed, I can determine how much was left at the end at equilibrium when the concentrations stayed constant. And then if I have the moles at equilibrium, I can calculate the concentrations at equilibrium. So you won't always necessarily have the starting moles and then the reaction. So sometimes you have the starting moles and you have moles at equilibrium, at your end, and then I have to work backwards. So yeah, so let's use that and let's do this one. So what I have is I have the moles at the start, so I can put that into my table. I have the moles of my NO2, and unless stated otherwise, I don't have any moles of my product at the beginning yet. The only place where this isn't the product on 0 is when I have a reaction that reached equilibrium a second time, which means some of my products have already formed, or if they tell you there at the start there was, for example, 1 mole of N2O4. But otherwise, you can assume it's 0. So the ratio of my reactants to my product is 2 to 1. So I'm just going to write that small at the top over here. And then the other value I have is I have my moles at equilibrium. I have this one, and I already calculated the concentration at equilibrium using my equation over there, which would be 0.2 moles per cubic decimeter. And now I have to calculate the rest. So I don't know how much formed, but if I know how much NO2 I started with and I know how much is at equilibrium, I know how much was used up, how much reacted. So I see that I used up 2.7 moles. So remember, this minus this has to give you that. And now I can use my ratios of 2 to 1. So if I used up 2.7 of that, half of that would have been formed. So 1.35 would have been formed, which means that if I started with 0 here and I added, or 1.35 was formed, then that means that I have 1.35 at equilibrium. So I can calculate the concentration at equilibrium. Again, the same, I just divide by the volume, which is 1.5, and then I get a concentration of 0.9 moles per cubic decimeter. And then I just input that value over here. So it's 0.9 over the 0.2 squared. And then I get a value of 22.5. So this is a fairly large value. It's much larger than 1, which means my forward reaction was favored. More products are in my container at equilibrium than reactant. So this is how you do these calculations. So they can switch it up and make it more difficult. They can give you different values. They, instead of giving you the mole, they could have given you a mass. Then you had to use another calculation to calculate the moles first. So, but this is generally the type of thing you have to do. And if you just remember that we build on this foundation when doing this, then you're going to be fine. Lastly, we're going to be looking at the factors that influence my equilibrium constant. And the only factor that influences my equilibrium constant is the temperature. All the other factors that shift the equilibrium don't affect my equilibrium constant. Only the temperature does. So let's look at two scenarios. Let's say I increase my temperature. So depending on whether your forward reaction is exothermic or endothermic, that would tell you how your Kc value would be affected. So if I increase the temperature and my forward reaction is an exothermic reaction, remember, an increase in temperature, my system wants to decrease the temperature, so it favors the endothermic reaction, which absorbs heat. So in other words, my reverse reaction would then be favored. So if my reverse reaction is favored, I have less products and more reactants, which means my Kc would decrease. But if my forward reaction was an endothermic reaction, remember, an increase in temperature, my system wants to decrease it. So the endothermic reaction is favored. So in that case, the forward reaction is then favored. So I have more products and less reactants. So my Kc value would increase. Let's say I decrease my temperature. So again, if I have an exothermic forward reaction, a decrease in temperature, my system wants to increase the temperature again. It does this by favoring the exothermic reaction, which increases the temperature. And in this case, my forward reaction is the exothermic reaction, which means my Kc value would increase. And the same is true if my forward reaction was an endothermic reaction. The reverse reaction would be favored and my Kc value would decrease. So just think about your normal Le Chatelier's principle, how the temperature affects my reaction, whether it favors the forward or reverse reaction, depending on whether the forward is endothermic or exothermic, and then you see what happens to the concentration of your products and your reactants, and then you will see what happens to your Kc value. So that is everything you need to know about the Kc value. The last video we're going to do in this chapter is just a couple of exam type questions, how they ask chemical equilibrium.